Xerxes, Persia's king of the kings.
Xerxes was the king of the Persian Empire from 486 to 465 BCE. He is remembered in Western scholarship for his defeat by combined Greek forces during his invasion of Greece in 480 and 479 BCE. A quick look at his 20-year reign, however, tells us that his rule must have amounted to more than that. Unfortunately, the best surviving source for him remains Herodotus, the Greek historian from Halicarnassus, who wrote the history of the Persian Wars from the Greek perspective. Xerxes is, therefore, the villain of the story, full of hubris and reduced almost to a caricature of a bad ruler. Other contemporary, near-contemporary, and later Greek writers, such as the dramatist Aeschylus in his play The Persians and the philosopher Plato, add to this picture. Yet Xerxes reigned for 15 years after his defeat in Greece, and his rule was uninterrupted, so his loss, while momentous for the Greeks, was relatively unimportant in the context of the enormous Persian Empire. Xerxes still ruled over a vast region that stretched from India in the east to Europe in the west, and from Egypt in the south to Caucasus Mountains in the north. Despite his defeat in Greece, he was a strong ruler who quashed revolts in Egypt and Babylon that had already started when he took the throne in 486 BCE. These had begun in the last years of Darius the Great, and Xerxes put down both efficiently. The empire was nonetheless relatively stable under his tenure. He was also responsible for the construction, or at least the completion, of immense building complexes in both Susa and Persepolis.
Born to rule.
Xerxes was the fourth or fifth king of the Achaemenid dynasty. The son of Darius the Great and Atusa, the daughter of Cyrus the Great, the founder of the dynasty in 550 BCE. He born in around 518 BCE. Xerxes was destined to rule. His father Darius had overthrown Bardia, the second son of Cyrus, in 522 BCE. In his inscriptions, Darius called Bardia a usurper and so not a legitimate successor. In Persian, Xerxes' name meant ruler of heroes or ruling over heroes. Although he took over as king on the death of his father in 486 BCE, he had been serving as a crown prince for 13 years already, since he was about 18. Prior to that, and again according to mainly Greek sources, he would have been taught to ride and hunt. These were not only aristocratic skills, but also directly transferable to warfare, involving both archery and use of the spear. Persian boys, and there is no reason to assume Xerxes was any different, were raised in the Zoroastrian religion and taught wisdom, justice, prudence, bravery, and truthfulness.
Father's successor.
Xerxes, however, was not the eldest son of Darius. That was Artabazus, who naturally enough claimed the throne when Darius died in October 486 BCE, despite Xerxes being favored and named as successor. Before he became king, Darius had married a common woman whose name is lost. He had 3 sons by her: Artabazinus, Ariobignus, and Arsamnus. As king, Darius would have an additional 5 wives and many more sons. The first son born after he became king, however, was Xerxes, born to Atusa. Darius had married Artistone, another daughter of Cyrus, as well. According to our Greek sources, the argument made was that, as the first son born after he had become king, and as the grandson of Cyrus, Xerxes had the more legitimate claim, especially as Darius was not of royal blood when he seized the throne in 522 BCE. If there was any claim over whether or not Xerxes should succeed, the power of Atusa as the daughter of Cyrus probably easily secured the claim of Xerxes. He came to the throne at the age of 32.
Putting down rebellion.
The first task for the new king was suppressing the revolt in Egypt. In all probability, preparation for the expedition was almost completed when Darius died. Xerxes would lead the expedition in person. This was probably to assert his own authority over the empire and the army, but was also tied in with finishing his father's projects, a key theme of his reign. He marched to Egypt and had defeated the revolt by early 484 BCE. He appointed his brother, Achaemenes, who was also a son of Atusa, as satrap of Egypt. And the province, or so-called satrapy, gave him no further problems during his reign. Babylon also revolted against Xerxes' rule. Although the revolt in Egypt had begun before Darius died, Babylon only revolted in summer 484 BCE. It is possible that the conditions that led to it, which may have been religious or tax-based, were already at boiling point at the end of Darius's reign, but the new king might have been expected to fix things. That he did not. He was distracted by suppressing the revolt in Egypt. And because conditions probably stayed the same, Babylonians chose to revolt, killing their governor and proclaiming a new king. The revolt lasted from 484 to 482 BCE, although it is possible that there were 2 revolts. One that lasted only a brief time in 484 BCE and a second in 482 BCE. The leaders, Belshazzar and Shamash-shebab, were named as king in various cities north and south of Babylon. The first disappeared very quickly. He was either defeated or joined Shamash-shebab. The revolt spread to other cities like Sippar, Borsippa, Dilbat, and Kish, and was eventually suppressed following a siege of Babylon. It is unclear what retributions the Babylonians faced for their rebellion. Although it was once claimed Xerxes dealt harshly with the city, there does not seem to have been any destruction of it. It is possible that its previously tolerated religious autonomy, especially in regard to Marduk, the patron god of the city, was dismantled or somehow undermined. Xerxes does seem to have stopped using the title King of Babylon in 482 BCE, perhaps as further punishment to the rebellious city. Other local rival cities such as Uruk were now given preferential treatment that may have further punished Babylon. These were nuanced and subtle punishments and not at all the kinds of behaviors we might expect of Herodotus' villain, who, when Pythias, a former Lydian king, requested his eldest son be excused military duty, cut the man's son in half so that his army could march between it. Or from the man who ordered the Hellespont whipped, fettered, and branded when Xerxes wished to cross it with his army and it dared to produce a storm. These are all the unreasonable and tendentious definitions of a ruler like Xerxes from a Greek historian. A nation that doesn't know the history is doomed to repeat it. For further videos in English, subscribe our YouTube channel, please.